to teach you a lesson about yourself. And until you realize that, you will always have something similar to deal with. This month, we have a new topic that is about how to get over a heartbreak. I assume that most of us will experience at least one heartbreaks in our life. I am mostly talking about romantic relationships kind of heartbreak, and I gotta say, this is a very human experience, and it's not a bad thing if you experience that. And I hope that after you experience that, you will know yourself more, and it is actually one step closer for you to find a compatible partner. So today I want to focusing on the emotional part of it. I experienced my first ever heartbreak when I was, I think, around 22 years old. I was having a long distance with my first partner, and then I moved to another city. And then I think some kind of miscommunication, but in the end, he kind of just broke up, one sided, and even like ghosted me. And it was really, really hard to get over compared to all the amicable breakups that people have. So I want to focus on breakups that are more one sided and hurt you really deep. Especially when it's a really long term relationships, like for years you've been with this person, you get used to texting with them every day, you remember all the details about them. It is definitely like a withdrawal the whole time when you're trying to get over it. So, first of all, I just really want to say that it's a very real human experience that you're experiencing. And lots of us actually share that. So, be kind to yourself, definitely. And make sure that be a little bit open during this time. Chat with your friends, meet some new people. It is definitely not the good time to wear away, date someone else. I say this because I know this is the method that a lot of people are using to distract themselves. You know, oh, break up, let's go out and have some fun, distract yourself. I'm not saying this is like something that you should not do, because there's also some people have different coping mechanism, and this is one of the way to do it. But definitely find someone to keep you company, and choosing the right person is also important. Like ideally some friends are more loving, more empathetic, because if you are spending this time with people not with the right mindset, what's going to happen is that they will reinforce certain prejudice or mindset that you have that's actually preventing you from having a better relationship next time around. So, action points would be writing a journal, documenting anything that you feel about the day, anything that's on your mind, anything that is beautiful for the day. Because when we love someone, we tend to project the future and having a lot of like dreams about what's gonna be with this person, even if you're not trying to. So the moment when it's all taken it out, it's really difficult to accept it. But it's about time to refocus on yourself instead. So everything you're gonna do is gonna be about you only and yourself. Isn't it beautiful? Because you love someone, and you for sure has been putting a lot of effort in different ways to show your love, and it's not returned in the way that you wished. It could be in a mutual way. You feel like you don't want to be in the person anymore. But oftentimes, it could be one-sided. And it could be a big hit to your confidence as well. Especially when we're younger, we definitely don't have the emotional maturity to handle all the strong emotions. You will have all kinds of emotions like anger, hurt, all of these feelings. It's completely normal. But the important thing is that you don't act on it to do something reckless. I give you a bad example, okay? So I was ghosted, and we were together at that point around 3 years, and I just couldn't get over it. It's on my mind. Everything I do, every waking moment, I'm having flashbacks, and I just cannot help myself. I want to reach out to, even if we just have a closure, just to talk about things. But it was never given the chance. Because it was also a classic, anxious and avoidant dance. So it was really awful. And then it turns me into a very obsessed person. And it was horrible. Like, I becomes one of those, like, horrible lover. The kind of person that I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna destroy you kind of feeling. And it's not healthy. And it lasts for almost more than a year. That's how crazy it was. My first breakup was crazy. I would spam emails, spam calls, find any way to reach the person, just to have a chat. And I was actually never given a chance. But funny enough, down the line, some years later, my ex called me out of nowhere, and then we have a very brief chat. And during that time, I was in another relationship happily, so I was more relieved. Like, I feel like I finally got the closure that I need. And also, that encounter wasn't the best either. I was still being blamed, basically. But now that I'm older, I look back and I definitely know that I was incredibly immature. It's not the same. It's not only focusing about how the other person saw it, because it's not important. Because ultimately, it's all about you. It's like, how do you want to move forward, So how do I get over it? I remember the first thing that I did is to think about the things that I have been always wanted to do, but for whatever reason I couldn't. I'm not talking about crazy things like I'm gonna rob a bank or something like that. I'm talking about, like, I wanna get a crazy haircut. I want to have a bunch of, new clothing and so on. And I just did it. I was just a poor student back then. I cannot afford to spend this couple of hundreds of euros just spending on clothing and so on. But I was like, fuck it. You know what? I want to love myself. And this is part of the things that you need to do to love yourself. If you want to eat, if you want to have a new look. In general, I think having a new look is great. Of course, you can upgrade your inner self. That's what you need. Have more substance and so on. But if you want to look better, this is the time. You're gonna have a crazy glow up. This is like the biggest motivation that you ever have. So that's what I did as well. It's not like I did a crazy glow up, but at least I am not wearing all this like all ugly clothing because I was a poor student. So you just go out and have some fun for yourself. And then I also started to expand my social circle. Like, I was pretty much only hang out with my partner. And it was not very healthy. So then I go out and meet people. I'm not talking about just go clubbing kinda, not the highest quality of social encounter, but hobbies, meeting new people, actually chatting, connecting with another human being. it's really helpful, at least for me, because you realize that there are so many people in this world that are eager to meet you, to know about you, to be your friends, to have new adventures, and so on. So, forward thinking is another key. But ultimately, you need to realize that it's not linear. The healing is not linear. You will feel like one day I feel fantastic. Everything is perfect. I think the breakup is the greatest things ever for me. And then the other day you feel like I feel miserable. I feel so alone and I feel so abandoned. And just know that this is completely normal. Completely normal. Just make sure that you need to reach out to someone if it's like too difficult to hold, because for people like me, I know there's a lot of people so like that have very, very strong emotions and borderline unstable emotions. So you have a crazy breakdown and so on. Let yourself be. Cry, shout, scream, however you want. Release it, release it. Everything that you want to say, write it down on paper. Any curse, any crazy thing you want to say, write it down on paper. And then if you really want to show to the person, you can. But most of the time, give yourself like a day or two and then you'll realize like, not really. But I also know, and I've also been there, that there are many times you want to write a long passage of text to the other person. You want to go through every single detail about anything, how you do me wrong, how I'm feeling, how you and that. You're going to analyze the other person's behavior. Okay, you can do that, but I gotta tell you, moving forward, the best thing is just about yourself. It's not about the other person. The other person is just coming here to teach you a lesson about yourself. And until you realize that, you will always have something similar to deal with. Okay? So one big takeaway for me, for example, is that why am I so obsessed with a person? Why am I so obsessed that want to maintain a relationship that is no longer working? Because in my head I feel like, no, it is working. We just have to talk it out. We just have to, analyze more and work on it harder. Now I really want to share is that, no, it shouldn't be something so complicated that you have to work your brains out. How I have to behave this way, how I should be reflecting on this way. This is something I should say and this is something I shouldn't say. It shouldn't be like that. A relationship, it should be easier than you think or you believe in. The reason why you feel that way is because you haven't learned a lesson yet. It could be just a lesson about it. Drop your stubbornness. Accept a breakup. Accept that things don't work out. Accept it. It's okay. You're going to be fine. And you will be happy along the way. And you will understand yourself better. And if you don't go through that, you will never know. But right now, I know you're really hurting. You're confused. You're confused that like my self-worth is kind of tied to this. So what am I gonna do next? So next time I will go a little bit deeper about what I think when it comes to working through the overthinking part of it. And thank you for listening. And as always, see you next time.